is, and this is what we're here for, is to do the off-roading and go out and about.
All right, guys, it's that time. I had to get a book. So it's Sunday night, 6:15, and we're going to talk about audio systems for Defenders. And I'm going to give you the basic, the mid-range, and the high-end, and go from that. And I wish I could actually show you Enzo, because we're installing an audio system on Enzo right now. And but you don't want to see it right now because it's a little scary. Everything's ripped apart. All right, so before we get started, I just want to know who's new. Let me move this screen over here. We're doing this on Instagram and Facebook, but who's new? Who's the first time joining us tonight? And so let's get started with that. And I got some interesting stuff to talk about. I mean, what can I say really? Other than I think maybe a lot of you guys didn't grow up in the 80s. Maybe that's what I can say. And why I say that, because I remember being a young guy, and because I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and being a young guy and going to the local audio place. And when I don't even remember the name of the place, but I remember this one guy that worked there, and his name was Ty. And he had a white Mustang. What was it? It was a white Mustang. Oh, it was rare, it was unique, but it was a convertible. And hello, Todd. Anyway, I just can't remember the name of that Mustang, but it would have been from, boy, I'm going to date myself here, but it was right around 1981, 82, 83, somewhere in there. Thank you, Steve. Steve said the name of the place was CMC Stereo. In fact, Steve and I would go there and hang out a lot. So I remember going into this audio place, and I've been to Jonesboro, Arkansas, Pete, matter of fact. So yes, been all through Arkansas, Mississippi. We used to have to leave Memphis to go to Mississippi, by the way, and I won't even tell you why. But anyway, Ole Miss. Squirrel. All right, so we would go to the audio place, and the stereo that every young man, every youth, every boy wanted was Alpine. That's what we all wanted, was Alpine. And it was like Pioneer was okay. I mean, it was a pretty good system, but Kenwood was a pretty good system too at that time. But Alpine was the system to have in the 80s. I'm going to embarrass myself here. But back then I drove a Mustang GT 5.0 LX convertible, and it was white, and it had 5-star wheels. It had ground effects on it. Yeah, I know. It killed my dad when I was out there putting those plastic ground effects on there. But it was white, and it had a dark navy blue top. And I remember getting the sticker that said Alpine, and it was about this big. And I put the sticker on the back window so I could drive around, and everybody go, oh man, that car's got an Alpine in it. Basically, I was a rolling sign saying, hey, come rob my car, I have an Alpine in it. But the thing is, I didn't have an Alpine in it. I just had the sticker because that's all I could afford. But anyway, Alpine was the system back then. Sony wasn't even in existence. The other system was AudioVox, which was considered to be pretty cheap. But it was primarily Alpine, and then it was Kenwood, and then it was Pioneer. At least I think it was. I don't know. I might be wrong. So anyway, we're going to talk about audio systems. So it's great that we have some new people joining us tonight. But I'm only going to talk about audio systems. Thank you, Pete. Alpine is installed in Lamborghinis, and the system that I would love to have, and I've done so much searching for it, but I just can't find one that looks really good, is Macintosh. And I'm not talking about the computer. If you're an audio guy, even if you're not, you probably know Macintosh, and that would be the ultimate, especially if we could have a receiver that was in there and an amplifier that was actually on tubes, because there's something beautiful about a unit that has tubes. It just has a warm, full sound. I say that, but I'm almost deaf in one ear and can't hear out of the other. That's a joke. But anyway, But it would be cool to have Macintosh because that was just the system that we all wanted growing up. And but anyway, so I digress. But anyway, so audio systems. Going through that and talking about where do we start on that? Harman Kardon. Yeah, Harman Kardon was a good one. Thank you, Sarah. That's right. My birthday's coming up, March 11th. So that will be here soon. And I'm trying to ignore it. But anyway, other than that. All right, so let's talk about audio. Let's talk a little bit about technology when it comes to a Defender, because I think a lot of times people don't understand that you can have a lot of anything in a Defender. I mean, it's a blank canvas is what it is. And you can do whatever you want to it. And I would say definitely, just to get an idea of what you can do the next time you're at Best Buy, and I'm not saying go to Best Buy, I'm saying there's those local audio shops where these guys are so passionate about audio and they can help you set up the ideal system. So you chances are you have an audio shop. They're few and far between, but chances are you have an audio shop in your town. And I would say go there and just stroll through and just kind of see what options are available. You'd be able to head unit, that's the stereo, and you'll be able to listen to that and have them pair it with some speakers and pair it with a subwoofer and pair it with some, or hook it with an amplifier, all on this big board, and they just push some buttons and you can hear all of it, which is a really cool experience. Granted, it's not going to sound like that in your vehicle because you're in a room and then you're putting it into a vehicle. So let me kind of give you some definitions, some keywords to really set the stage for you. And when I talk about a head unit, that is the stereo. The proper stereo to fit into a Defender, if you look at any of the pictures, just go to my website and look at the pictures, because a lot of the pictures you'll see with the trucks, they don't have the stereo in them yet, because we take the pictures before the stereo gets in, because stereo is the last stage and then it goes off to the client. Some of the clients, I talk to them and I'm like, hey, why don't you just go to a local audio shop and listen to the audio? So that's why you won't see it. But what I want you to do is go to the website and look on the dash and you'll see this center console. So the console is where the head unit gets mounted. And the proper terminology for this head unit, to understand the size, it's called a double DIN. So again, double DIN is what it is. To give you some perspective, you can have a touch screen that's mounted in this center console that is around 6.8, 6.9, 7 inches. And I mean, they come in weird sizes like that. For example, a Pioneer unit, a Pioneer 4500 NEX unit, which is a very nice unit. If you listen to CDs, this would be a good unit for you because you hit a button, the face folds down, and then you've got basically the CD player where you can play a CD, you can watch a DVD, you can watch a movie, whatever you want to do. It pulls back up so you have the full screen. But the 4500 NEX Pioneer, it does have Apple CarPlay that's wireless. It also has Android Auto wireless. It also can do Apple CarPlay wired or Android Auto wired. It also has hands-free calling. It has Bluetooth. It has Spotify. It has satellite radio. It has Alexa built in, so you can say, hey, Alexa, remind me to do this, or Alexa, do this for me. So you have all of these options to buy one of these units and put it into the Defender. Again, just go to the website and look, and you'll see the center cubby, center console. That console was made by a company called Mudd. Yeah, it's true, Brooklyn. James is saying, and I can never pronounce that name properly, but Blanc Point, it was popular in the States in the 80s. I remember this one guy, he had a Porsche 928, and that's the stereo it had in it. And I was like, oh man. They were not very popular though in the audio stores. I mean, they didn't compete very well compared to like a Kenwood. I know squirrel guys. I'm sorry, you know me. But anyway, it's just, but yeah, cool system. I forget what was in the Aston Martin. I think it was Macintosh. But anyway, yep, that's right. It was a default. Black Pomp was for default in BMWs, and it was also used in Porsche. So, by the way, it's Porsche. I've been corrected on that so many times. But anyway, all right, squirrel moments. Sorry, I'm just reading all the comments from you guys. Awesome. So, a double DIN unit, you can get one that's around 7 inches, goes into the center console made by Mudd, fills the console up pretty nice. It's a touchscreen. There's different models. Pioneer is a very good unit. It has a lot of functionality, but flashback to my youth, and Enzo were putting an Alpine unit. And the Alpine's pretty cool in the sense that it's a very thin unit. I mean, like the thickness where it goes into the console, it's only about 3 inches deep is what it is. And then they have where you can basically plug an amplifier right onto the back, so you're not having to run all these wires out and run it to an amplifier and then run it to the speaker and all that. So pretty cool unit, and that's what I chose to go with, was the Alpine. Again, just a flashback to the youth of having that sticker. And I promise you, I will not put an Alpine sticker on the back of my Defender advertising I have an Alpine. All right, so that's the double DIN unit. Most popular ones would be Alpine, Pioneer, Kenwood, and then there's a handful of others, but I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them. The tech is so advanced, it's really nice, but it gives you a lot of different opportunities. So, for example, in the Pioneer unit or the Alpine unit, the Kenwood unit, it's just based on how much you want to spend. So price point starts at around $199. Mind blown there, because I could have swore when I was a young guy and I was trying to get the stereo system, which by the way didn't have a touchscreen or anything like that, the prices were a lot higher than that. But it also is the module. I mean, it has a module for backup camera, and some of them will do 2 cameras. So you can do like a forward camera and a front camera, which brings me to the next point of cameras and audio and technology when it comes to a Defender. So we have, to just clarify, the double DIN unit, that's your touch screen that goes into the center cubby. And it will run cameras, but it will also, are you ready for this? It will also hook into your rear view camera, so you can see when you're actually parking, backing up or whatever. But you can also get a rear view mirror. Your mirror right here, you can get that mirror that has a camera built into it also. So you can have a forward facing camera on that mirror. And what's interesting about this actual mirror is it has a screen. So when you look at your rear view mirror, it has the screen where you can see what you're looking at with your parking lines. Yes, this isn't a Defender, guys, but it has your parking lines in the rear view mirror, and then you have the 7-inch screen that has the parking lines on that double DIN unit. So you have that. But this is where it gets cooler. You can wire this system so when you shut your Defender off, then what happens is that rear view mirror kicks on its motion detection system. So then when if someone bumps your Defender, the motion detector would have already turned on because something's coming in radius, but you can see who bumped your Defender. So again, you have a camera behind and a camera in front watching it. And it's a pretty wide camera in the front, pretty wide camera in the rear too. But the motion sensor, if someone walks up to your Defender, the motion sensor will come on and it will record them being around your Defender. So that's the rear view mirror option to hook into your double DIN, your head unit. All right, so now let's move into speakers, because speakers in a when it comes to a Defender, you have so many opportunities. And sorry, I'm like looking up here. I'm looking at the phone, looking at the Instagrams up here, and Facebook is down here. So, but a lot of options in speakers. And a Defender is a pretty good piece of canvas, I guess you can say. It's a pretty good canvas to be able to start to do some interesting speakers. So this is my recommendation. This is what I'm doing to Enzo. And it's in the dash, you can have your tweeters. Tweeters are supposed to be up high. So on either end of my dash, so far into the dash and this end of the dash, you have a Rockford Fosgate. There you go. You just cut the dash and you drop your tweeters down into the dash. So the tweeters are the ones that give you the high tone. And then in the bottom part of the air conditioning unit, you know, that underslung air conditioning unit that's under your dash, it already has cutouts for speakers. Here's the problem though with the cutouts in the air conditioning unit. The cutouts are only for a 4-inch speaker. And so tweeters in the dash, and then you have your mid-range. But with that system, you're going to have a 4-inch mid-range speaker that's not going to give you a lot of mid-range. So if you do it that way, where you have tweeters in the dash and mid-range in the lower of the air conditioning unit, that's called a component system. And why it's component is you've separated the tweeter signal and separated the mid-range, what gives more of a clarity, a clearer signal. You have truer highs, you have better mids. So if you like a lot of jazz, or if you like vocals, this is going to be your best way to go because it does that separation and it just has a lot of clarity. But with the 4-inch mid-range, you're kind of lacking. So here's an option for mid-range that's not the ideal option, but here's an option. When you're sitting in a Defender, and not all of them by the way, if it's a D110, you're sitting on a seat box. The driver's on a seat box, that's where your battery's at, and the passenger's sitting up on a box. It's basically a raised box and you can store tools over there. But on a D110, you can use those boxes as your mid-range boxes. So you could do a 6-inch mid-range, or you would cut a hole in the front of the box and put a 6-inch in each box. But the problem is you're sitting there and the sound is hitting the back of your legs. Not an ideal location, but it is an option. So there's a thing. But if you do this, and again, it's only in the D110. If you do this though, what you have to do to this box, this seat box, is you need to do sound deadening. So I would say order some soundproofing, sound deadening, some butyl rubber on Amazon, and you want to fill it with a couple coats of the sound deadening, a couple layers of sound deadening. It's just stick-on stuff is all it is. And then you put a layer of foam. So now it creates a nice box that's not tinny and gives you that really good audio sound, well, as far as you can go, since the speakers are really low, hitting the back of your legs. But that's an option. I kept on saying D110 because the problem why you can't do it with a D90 is because on the passenger side, that's where the fuel tank is at. So you don't want to be drilling into that because you've got a fuel tank, so that option is out. So I'm going to continue with D110 though. So with the D110, now that you have tweeters in the dash, mids, 4-inch mids in the air conditioning, you have 6-inch mids again that's in the seat boxes. You want to be able to have an amplifier. Well, let me stick with speakers. So speakers continuing on, what you can do is in the rear, in your second row, that's where you can do something like a JL Audio. JL Audio makes really good subs. So you can do like an 8-inch JL Audio sub, but you could build a custom box. And when you build this custom box, it would flip upside down so the speaker's actually pointing towards the floor, but you have to make sure you have plenty of sound deadening, otherwise it sounds like a rattling tin can. So the sub's pointing towards the floor and you mount the cubby box on top of it, and now you've got that nice bass. And then in the very, very rear of the D110, below the oval windows in each corner, you would put, again, the company is Mud, makes these speaker enclosures, or you can custom make them yourself. But they're kind of, think about it, they're down low on top of the wheel wells, in front or behind the tail lights. They're not up high in the roof, but you could put your speakers back there. These speaker enclosures that they make will hold a 5 1/4. And 5 1/4 is a little harder to find. Ideal to be a 6-inch. So what we've done in the past is we've cut that, because it's a nice plastic fitted enclosure that's really nice. So we've trimmed it out, cut it out, where it would take a 6-inch coaxial speaker. So a coaxial speaker is a speaker that has your mid, and then it has your tweeter that's mounted. It's one unit, mid and a tweeter, so it has a little bit of a fuller sound. You normally put your coaxials in the rear because it has a full sound. So again, this is D110. But now that you're doing that you have your component speakers in the front, tweeters in the dash, and you have your mid-range in the lower air conditioning unit, you have your mid-range in the speaker boxes, you have your 8-inch sub below the center console or below the second row seat, or you can put it below your console in the first row. And then you have your coaxials in the rear. You need something to power all of that. I mean, your head unit, your double-din unit could do it, but you don't want it to work as hard. Therefore, you want to introduce what's called an amplifier. A really good amplifier is a JL audio amplifier, and you would get what's called a 5-channel amplifier, around 500 watts. And what will happen is one channel goes to the front components, tweeter in the mid-range. Another channel goes to the ones that are in the seat boxes, the mid-range there. And then in the rear, the one channel goes to those speakers, and then one channel goes to the sub. So that's why it's 5 channels. Now you have a really good sound system. The only thing is, you need to make sure that you've done the sound deadening in your Defender, otherwise you're not going to get the true clarity. So there you go. That was D110. But let me tell you now, D90, let's just talk about D90 before I get into D130, and I'll tell you what I'm doing with that. So a D90, you can do the component system, tweeters in the dash, mid-range in the air conditioning unit, and then you can do coaxials in the very rear, and then you would do an 8-inch sub that would actually mount on the rear bulkhead. In other words, here's you're sitting as a driver, and then there's the metal wall behind you. You can put the sub, because the sub is non-directional. It doesn't have to point towards you. It's base, but it mounts on that rear wall right there. So if you want to see a system like that and how it's set up, just go to the website, Helderburg, and look for the Defender. It's called Mare, the blue one. It's a D90, and you'll see how that unit was installed. So that's audio for a D90. But now let's talk about different levels of audio. So there's some really good speakers out there, meaning JL audio seems, and from what I've listened to and everything else, JL audio seems to be good. I hesitated there because I was trying to think how to make it really clear when I say good. It's good for the money, let's put it that way. It's not super high end, it's not cheap, but it's I'm sorry, reading a note. Okay. All right. It's a good system. They make really good, JL Audio makes good amplifiers. It has good clean sound, and they make good subs, and their speakers are nice also. So JL Audio could be an ideal choice for you. Alpine, when it comes to speakers, honestly, I don't think Alpine made good speakers years ago when I was in Alpine. I think Alpine does a better job, and I mean, I could be wrong. This is completely my opinion, guys. But I think Alpine does better on the head units than they do on the speakers. Kenwood, same thing. I think Kenwood does better on the head units than they do the speakers. So JL Audio makes good speakers, but if you want really good speakers, the kind that I put in my vehicles, it's Focal. And it's spelled like focal, F-O-C-A-L, but it's called Focal. Focal makes really good speakers. The clarity is spot on. The highs are perfect. The mids are wonderful. So their speaker choice, but here's the thing with a Focal, you're going to pay for it. To be able to get speakers, Focal speakers, and to set up like a D90 And for the good ones, because they have different lines, you're probably at around $4,000 for the speakers to get the really good ones. But Focal's subwoofer is not one I would go with. I would mix Focal speakers, in other words, your separates, because the separate, again, the tweeter in the mid-range has what's called a crossover. It's a piece of electronic gizmo there that separates the signals, and Focal does a really good job of the separation. I mean, you can do some of that separation in your amplifier, but Focal does a really good job with it. And then you do a JL audio for your subwoofer. And then head unit, you can't go wrong. I mean, you really can't go wrong with Pioneer, Kenwood, or Alpine. So it's really what speaks to you. And what I mean by that is looking at the head unit and seeing which one do you like the best. There's a couple Kenwood units I really like because the readout, the actual display reminds me and looks like Macintosh. That's why I like the look of the Kenwood. I've never bought one. They're always sold out, but I like that display the best. Pioneer feels a little too busy for me, but I do have some Pioneers. And Pioneer, when you get into the menu, the online menu, it's a little crazy. They put too much. It almost feels like you have an Iron Man watch. And I mean, if you guys have ever had one of the Iron Man watches and you're sitting there going, dee, 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 and all this stuff, it drives me nuts. But anyway, that's the way I feel about the Pioneer. And the Alpine's pretty simple. So, all right, I think I've been all over the board on that. So let's talk about the D130. Let's talk about Enzo. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing with Enzo, and should have that wrapped up tomorrow, by the way. So with Enzo, what I'm doing is I've got Focal in the dash, the tweeters. I got Focal mid-range in the speaker, again, 4-inch. In the D130, I could not put them in the speaker boxes because there really isn't a seat box. The seat box is open to the elements on the passenger side, and I guess I could have put a piece of metal under it and done all that, but I decided to try something completely different. And then in the rear, in the second row, what I've done is custom box. So I sound like a young teenage boy. But custom box that's about 10 inches, and it has an 8-inch JBL, or I'm not a JBL, sorry, a JL audio subwoofer. So, and pointing towards the floor. And then in the rear, behind the seats, in a D130, this is going to blow your mind, just you guys probably don't know this, but what we do in the D130 in the rear is we sound deaden the body, and then we install a piece of plywood that is covered with carpet, and you would never know. But that plywood is on a slant. Here's the back of the truck, and the plywood comes down in a slant, which gives the perfect opportunity to mount speakers. So what I've done is I have 6-inch, another set of component speakers. So it's a 6-inch mid-range and a tweeter, again, Focal. And I did poly dome tweeters, and which is just, it's like a, by the way, but anyway, so I've done the poly dome tweeters. They got really good highs, but I'm going to back them off a little bit on setting on the amp. The amplifier that I'm using is a 5-channel amplifier, JL audio, and it's mounted in the seat box. And then, of course, the amplifier's got to be hardwired to your battery because it's taking a lot of power. So that's what it is. And then the head unit I'm using is Alpine. It does not have a CD player in it because I have absolutely no CDs, so there's no reason to have a CD player, and I'm not going to watch shows or DVDs on my head unit. So that's the audio. But now let me get into a little more tech. I know you guys want some more tech, so here's some other tech. There's a company that's called Drone Mobile, and I'm putting this into Enzo, the D130. And what Drone Mobile is is you get a remote control and there's an app on your phone, and it will tell you, you can geofence your vehicle. So if anyone walks around the vehicle, you can get a text message if they get close to it. Like, I really need that. You can also, if you lose your vehicle, this is the cool part. If you lose your vehicle, the satellites are basically watching your video or watching your vehicle. You can click in on it and the satellite will zoom in on your vehicle. Now, I am told, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but the guy that I talked to that sold me this little piece of gadgetry said, Paul, you know, though, when you zoom in, you can actually see your Defender. It's not a little drawing like the rest of these GPS locators. You're really seeing your Defender. And I'm like, no way. That's so cool. So we'll see if it really does work. It also has auto start. Mind blown that a Defender can have auto start, even though it's a manual transmission. And all you have to do, pull your brake up, put it in neutral, and it senses that, hey, the brake's up, and it's in neutral through a neutral safety switch is what it is. And so you can hit the button from anywhere because you're doing this button on your phone or on your Apple Watch, which I don't wear Apple Watches, but you can do your Apple Watch and start your car. You can do your Apple Watch or your phone, unlock your car. And you can even use your Apple Watch. You can leave the keys sitting in there and unlock it for somebody if someone's borrowing it. You can also do curfew alerts. So in other words, if you have a teenager in the house, you can set when that car will start and won't start. So if they're staying at oh, Mom, I'm staying at so-and-so's house. Don't worry, I won't be out driving. Well, you can pull out the phone and go, that's right, you won't be driving, and disable the car. You can also track how quick your Defender is going, how quick somebody's driving it. You can track if there's a voltage drop on your Defender. In other words, if the battery's getting weak, like if it's really cold outside, it'll give you an alert, oh, battery's getting low. It does all kinds of stuff. But it's a module system, or I should say a modular system, that you can even add in an alarm system to it too. So it's got all these components. So you can have key fob, and the key fob gives you a little readout and everything. You can have it on your watch, and you can have it on your phone. And the company's called Drone Mobile. I guess they're trying to make you think there's little drones flying around watching your car. So that's the tech. That's audio. But if you want a hi-fi audio system, then I would tell you it's going to start with the Focal speakers. I haven't come across any speakers that sound better than the Focals. Let's see what John's saying here. John, the way he got something there. Danger of doing all this, though, as you're overcomplicating things, and that's where the problem starts. John's got a good point that you start doing all of this, like with the Drone Mobile and door unlocks and locks and all this stuff. You're starting to take your Land Rover Defender that doesn't have any electronics, and now you're starting to really pack it full with electronics. So good point, something to consider. So audio-wise though, I know some of you guys really love the audio system, so that would be Focal, JL Audio, Pioneer or Alpine or Kenwood is what it would be. Now, that's going to be the expensive unit. But if you want to go kind of down memory lane, and I don't know if it's really memory lane, I just said that, but if you want to have something that's really kind of cool, I don't know if I showed this to you guys before, and this is not the unit that I installed in Hayrod. So in my D110 double cab, go to the website, check it out. It's the D110 double cab. This is simple. And let's see what John said. John said, I'm all about a good audio system, don't get me wrong, but it's the other stuff that just seems overkill for the Defender. I agree with that, John. I really do. I mean, because you can start doing so much to it. But the thing is, a lot of people are like going, oh, what all can I put in there? And so it's there. But my opinion, put a nice set of speakers in there, put a nice head unit, call it done. Or today, I spent the day driving, went up into the Adirondacks, driving around in my D110 double cab, hey Rod. It has a Marshall speaker that's battery powered. I mean, it's deeper than this one. This one's not that deep. Mine's about that big. And all I did is I cut the cubby out and fit it into the cubby. And then I have the AC power it's a battery that lasts about 20 hours. But I have the AC power that's in the back of it. I ran it, snaked it through, dropped it right into the battery box. And I have an AC converter that's hooked into my battery. So then it's plugged in and keeps it charging. And this is done by Bluetooth. The only thing is, you can either do the one speaker, or if you do the right system, I think it's the Kilburn 2 system, you can do 2 speakers. But you would have to have another cubby unless you just want it sitting in the back or whatever. And I don't know if it really gives you any benefit to have 2 speakers. This type of system looks really cool. And it's going to be a conversation starter is what it will be. It just, in my opinion, just makes it really sharp. But anyway, this is going to be your easiest, quickest way to audio. And again, I just think it's so cool. But anyway, if you want to see what it looks like, go to the website and look for Herod, Herod. And it sounds pretty good. So, and it's Bluetooth too. So you can listen to Spotify and everything. So talking about, I mean, I've been asked this question so many times, and I want to answer it once and for all. And every time I've had these discussions, like private conversations, I'm going to talk about soundproofing. So the answer with soundproofing is, what is the best soundproofing? And I will tell you that Dynamat has the best advertising. I am not denying that Dynamat is good soundproofing. They definitely are. But, there's tests on YouTube where people have taken Dynamat and all the other type of sound deadening, and Dynamat sounds better. It's like, whatever, guys. I don't know. I don't believe the news. I don't believe what a lot of people say when it comes to that, because I don't know if Dynamat's sending them soundproofing for free or whatever. And I've tried Dynamat. It's a great product, but in my opinion, it's too costly for what it is. So I just order any sound deadening. I've used, I think it's Mat 66. I've used that. And there's another one that I've used a lot, Norian or something. It's made in Russia or something like that. And I think it really comes down to how you apply sound deadening to make sound deadening good and doing enough layers. So what we do when we do it is, we do 3 layers of sound deadening, which is the butyl rubber with the silver backing, and then we'll do 2 layers of the foam on top of it, and that's about as good as it gets. It's simple. You can add more layers if you want, but there's just kind of a point of you just overdo it. One of the things that you can do to help with the sound deadening, though, is carpet. Carpet's going to be one of the best things that you can do. And carpet, when it comes to a Defender, it's pretty much, Exmoor is a company that makes the carpet sets. The carpet's pretty thin. It's probably about an 18-ounce carpet, but then it has sound deadening to the back of it. So if you wanted to up it even more, put in the multiple layers of the sound deadening, then the foam, make sure you do it through the doors and everything else, but then go with some additional carpet. Get some good carpet, like some 40-ounce carpet, or some good, by the way, I'm thinking about putting this carpet into my D130. It's called Wilton, W-I-L-T-O-N, Wilton wool, and it's made in England, but it's true wool. But it's expensive. I mean, good carpet, 40-ounce carpet, is around $38 a yard. That's around 72 inches wide. This stuff, Wilton wool is $90 a yard and is 42 inches wide. But it's what they use in Aston Martin. So anyway, I'm going to try it and see. But anyway, so that's sound deadening and all that. And just more carpet. Stick more carpet in there. That's going to be the best way to go. All right. All right, what's questions? All right, guys. I've been rambling for a few minutes. I can't believe it's 6:55. I've been going blah, 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 blah. All right. I'm going to give you guys a book. I'm going to give you some reading material here. Are you ready? Are you ready for some reading material? And you'll be amazed the number of books that's out there. See if you can find a book on a Corvette. Like, see if there's as many Corvette books. Or, well, that's not a good comparison. See if there's as many books on Broncos. There you go. Or Silverados. So anyway, here's the book. The complete catalog. Wait, let me make sure. Yeah, the complete catalog of the Land Rover from Series 1. This is good reading material, guys, from Series 1, so you can understand. 2, the Defender. Because I think a lot of times we get confused. Here's the inside. So I want you guys to see the inside. You know why I want you to see the inside, don't you, don't you, don't you? Trying to flip these pages here. All right. I mean, it's no Dr. Seuss book, okay? And if it was a Dr. Seuss book, they would probably, well, not probably, they would ban it. It would be banned. Did you guys hear that? They're getting rid of like 6 Dr. Seuss books. What is this world coming to? I grew up with Dr. Seuss. Anyway, and what I mean by it's no Dr. Seuss book, it's got quite a few pictures, but not a ton of pictures. So anyway, so there you go. Good book to go with. All right, so with all that said, go ahead. If you have questions, ask your questions. Let me know. But I do want to remind you, June 18th through the 20th, and I am going to try my hardest to be able to open up registration here this upcoming week. So you can sign up. The question is, who all's coming? Are you guys coming to the event June 18th through the 20th? We are getting ready for it in April. I have a group of blokes, lads, chaps, whatever you like to call them, friends, that are coming to visit. We're going to be April 16th. I won't even tell you. 16th, 17th, 18th? April 16th, 17th, 18th, yes. And we are going to clear trails. So we're going to clear trails. We're going to decide where the trials is going to be. Yes, we're going to do trials. If you don't know what trials is a way that you can have fun with your vehicle and you will not get it scratched. You can do it with just some, all-terrain tires, and we put up these little canes, and you have to try to maneuver through these canes. But if you hit one, it won't scratch the paint. It won't hurt your car. So that'll be fun. So we're deciding where that's going to go. But we are going to hit the trails, and so we got the road superintendent of Sharon Springs of Scary County that's going to go with us. And all right, there you go. Michael's in for 2, and he's already booked an Airbnb. Awesome. But we're going to go hit the trails. So if you don't want to take your vehicle on the trails, because some of the trails will be a little challenging, that's fine. You can ride with me. You can ride with Steve. You can ride with Brian. I would say you can ride with Matt, but that would be like putting your life in your hands there. No, that'd be like putting your life in his hands. But it'd be fun. So anyway, so go ahead and get the hotel booked. It is going to happen June 18th through the 20th. It will happen. Even if I'm not here, it will happen. We'll just make sure, because Gavin will be here, and Gavin is coming out to make sure that I'm organized, because but anyway, so it's going to be a tremendous amount of fun. So there you go, guys. Any questions? Anything I can help you with? Did I help you with the audio? Did I give you some clarity in the audio? You can have a hi-fi system. You can have a mid-range system. I mean, you can have a good audio system in your Defender for as little as, installation and everything, around $1,000. Or you do the Marshall speaker. Again, I'd say around $1,000 is a good one. And for a mid-range one, you're probably at around 2,500, and for an outstanding one, you're at about 5,000, 5,500. So sky's the limit on that. Backup cameras, no problem. Multiple backup cameras, cameras that watch your vehicle, GPS trackers, you can have it all. So all beautiful stuff that you can put in, and you don't have to do it immediately. You can do a little bit at a time. You can say, let me try this and work with it and go from there. So there you go. I hope I helped you guys. So with that, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to go spend time with my lovely bride. I'm going to wine her, dine her. Shouldn't have said that. I can get in trouble for that. Somebody might shut me down for being vulgar. Anyway, all right, guys. Have a wonderful evening. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Since you don't have any questions, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to go cook dinner. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cook dinner. I'm going to try to get some points with the wife, so she'll, so maybe I'll wake up in the morning, so it won't be like. Anyway, all right, goodbye. I got to go. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.